What's up, guys? We're back for our second video, and we're gonna keep talking about the WGC Bridgestone, but we're gonna tackle it from a bit of a different angle. I'm sure many, if not all of you, have seen articles or videos about GPPs versus cash games. If you haven't, GPP is a guaranteed prize pool. You know, one of those tournaments with a bigger field, and a cash game is a 50-50 or a head-to-head, one of those. And I don't think I'm the first person, actually, no, I'm not the first person, to talk about the differences between those two. But after having seen and read many of those, I do think I'm covering it from a different and more advanced angle that you don't exactly see, but I think should be covered because I think it's important. So when you first read an article or watch a video, not even when you first do it, basically what they tell you is the biggest difference is a volatility aspect. And what I mean by that is in a tournament, all the money is up top. And in a cash game, you just need to be in the top 50%. So with a cash game, you're trying to hit your median the most time. You're going for the safest lineup because you just need to consistently be in the top 50%. Whereas in a GPP, you're trying to give yourself the highest ceiling. You're trying to have the most possible points, even if it's, more volatile and there's more variance. Doesn't matter because winning is what matters, and that is right. But I don't think that's all you need to know, because I think what people take away from that is they don't really differentiate between the two, and they don't really go the full 9 yards, I guess, and really optimize the way they should be setting tournament lineups. And what I mean by that is they walk away from that saying, okay, I just need to find the 6 guys who are most likely to win, or who are gonna give me the most, the highest ceiling. And they don't really think about anything else. And so I guess I'm here to tell you what other things you should be thinking about it. Let's take the WGC this week. Here is the field, the top 15 of the field, sorted by the formula I created. And you scroll down, and so you do whatever approach you take. You look through the field, and you decide who you like. This is how I would do it. I would scour this, and I would figure out what players I like. So let's just make an example. Everyone's going to like, Justin Rose, because they always do. And everyone's going to like Justin Thomas because his price is ridiculous. So we set a team with Rose. Let's just use this here. So we started a team with Rose, Thomas. Who else is popular? Shambo will be popular. Finau. No, let's not use Finau. Let's use... Luke List is definitely going to be popular. Luke List. Who else? Phil will definitely be popular at 7.4. So what is that? Those 5 guys, we've got 19.5, 27.3, 34.5, 41.9. So we've got 8.1 left over. 8.1 left over. And that leaves us with the perfect amount for Zach. So we put Zach in that lineup. Seems like a pretty sweet lineup, right? Like, you can set this lineup. The problem with a lineup like this, even if you want to make the argument that it gives you a really high ceiling, And it does. I mean, I'm not going to argue that this is a bad lineup. I mean, looking at it, it looks pretty appealing. I mean, Zach, I saw on a video I watched, and I'll link it in the comments on uh, Rick. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm stupid. He said that Zach leads the field in strokes gained the last 2 years at this tournament. So Zach is a great pick. Phil and Luke List, say what you want about their history or lack of here, or their form, but they can score DraftKings points. They don't need to win this tournament to score DraftKings points. And with no cuts, 4 rounds of these guys just with 72 guaranteed shots at birdie, where they're going to take every one, they're great. DeChambeau won at one Memorial, and this is a very similar course to Memorial. JT is JT and Rose is Rose. This is a good lineup. Going back to where I started, the problem with this lineup is it's not unique at all. There's zero uniqueness to this lineup, and uniqueness is incredibly valuable in tournaments. And to really expand on what I mean by that, think about, let's just say, and exaggerate because I don't think it's true, but let's just say you are the only person who sets this lineup. I don't think you will be, but let's just say you're the only person who sets this lineup. This 5-man combination, 5 of these, if not all 6, but the top 5 for sure, are going to be incredibly popular. I don't think any one of these 5 guys will be below 20%. And so instead of having, any uniqueness to your lineup, all of a sudden you've put yourself in a spot where unless these exact 5 guys get exactly, or 6 of the top 6 point scorers this week, you're not going to win. You're just not, because you're competing with 20% of the field with each guy, over 20% for some. And you just can't win like that. You can't win when your lineup needs to do exactly one thing. So what is the answer? You might think I'm going to say don't go with these guys and just always play contrarian. And that actually isn't the answer. That's not the answer at all. And I say that because one thing I've really struggled with is figuring out where the line is. And that is what the best DraftKings players do. They figure out what the middle ground between polarized left is all contrarian and just picking contrarian picks for just to be a contrarian, to have low-owned guys. And then chalk is the polarized right. You have to find the middle ground because that the best players just do. The best players know who the guys are whose ownerships are going to be low and the way to set the most unique lineups. And what I mean is, obviously, we know for the most part who are going to be low-owned guys, but they know the low-owned guys who bring the most value, who are closest to the chalk guys, if not as good. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of that. Example 1 is, let's sort by price because I know their prices. So example 1 is Hideki Matsuyama. Matsuyama's 8,400. He won this tournament last year, and he missed the cut at the British Open by 1. Despite all this, he is going to be single digit owned. I would be shocked if he's over 10%. So if you listen to the first 9 minutes of what I was talking about and yammering about, you might think, yeah, let's just go Matsuyama. And the argument you would make, and I think you would be right in making go Matsuyama, is if he wins, you are all of a sudden putting yourself in a position where you've separated yourself from 90+% of the field because you have a guy that nobody else has who won the tournament, and he can win the tournament. He proved it last year. If Justin Rose wins the tournament and he's on your team, great. You're with 30+% of the field, and that's cool. Like, That's obviously good, but it's definitely not close to as good as if Matsuyama won. The problem is, and going back to what I was saying, is, and what I struggle with, there's a reason popular guys are popular. Justin Rose is popular because he is just outrageously good. And not just good, but consistent. He has played 18 tournaments this year and he has 13 top 10s. He hasn't missed a cut. He's fourth in the world in birdies, first in par 4 scoring. He's gonna get it done. And that is why he's popular. That is what he brings to the table. Matsuyama is not close to that. I would never, ever, ever, ever argue, gun to my head, if I thought one of them was going to win this week or who was going to put up the most drafting points, who has the highest ceiling, anything, that I would pick Matsuyama over Rose. And so Matsuyama would really be a case of just being a contrarian for contrarian's sake. I don't think anything points to him playing well this week. And so I wouldn't pick him. And so what I mean by finding a middle ground is I want to find somebody who can come close to doing what Rose does, but adds a much more valuable thing in how unique my lineup will be. So if we look in that tier, if we look in this elite tier, I would think about Rory McIlroy and I would think about Jordan Spieth. Rose, Tiger, and Dustin are the chalk. They just are. They're all going to be chalk. I think you could even lump Dustin in with Rory and Rose, or excuse me, with Rory and Spieth, because not because he's going to be low owned. He won't. But, and I said this in my first video, he's going to be about as low owned as you're going to get just because of the elite options that there are. So if you like Dustin a lot and you've been waiting to go with him, this is the week to go with him. But my point is that you don't just look at Justin Rose and say, I think he has the highest ceiling, because that's really short. That's a really basic and short-sighted way of viewing how you should be building your teams. You look at Justin Rose and you say, how popular is he going to be? And how many points do I think he can score? And then you look at Jordan Spieth and you say, how popular is he going to be? And how many points do I think he's going to score? And the fact of the matter is that Jordan Spieth scoring 100 points at 10% value is far more valuable than Justin Rose scoring 110 points at 30% value. And you really need to start thinking about equity like that and not just pure points. Because ownership is just as valuable as the ceiling of the points they can score. And I think another example of that, and a better example of that, is with Justin Thomas. In my first video, I made a point to really hammered down how big a joke this Justin Thomas price is. And it is. It's ludicrous. And it's for that reason that I just don't think a lot of people are going to be able to pass on him. But if he's 40% owned, how valuable, like, how unique can your lineup really be with Justin Thomas? Especially if you're only setting 1, 2, 3 lineups. It's just you really have to pivot away from these super popular guys or not even guys, these really popular lineups. And it's for that reason that I think that Brooks Koepka is overwhelmingly valuable this week, because Brooks and JT, Brooks might not be as good as JT in a vacuum. Hell, he might not even be as likely to win this tournament. But he's close enough, and you're going to get him at such a discount ownership-wise that it's just really hard to describe how much more valuable he's going to be. I think given how absurd Justin Thomas's ownership is going to be, and who else is around him in Molinari, Stenson, Fleetwood, Casey, Watson, all these popular guys, I think you could make an argument that Brooks Koepka is the most valuable and best play this week, because his ownership should be low, and he can win, and he can score a lot of points. And I don't want you to think that I'm saying never go with the popular guys. Because, like I said, popular guys are popular for a reason, which really segues us into my second point. If you want to go popular, or even if you want to keep following what I was saying in part one, there's another way to add uniqueness to your lineups that isn't really talked about. And that is leaving money left over from your salary. I shouldn't have deleted that team, but if we use just that popular team that I brought up earlier in the video, Rose, Justin Thomas, Zach Johnson, DeChambeau, Phil, and no, definitely not Kevin Na. Sorry, Kevin. I hope you're not watching this, but I just can't watch you miss every fairway in that visor. I don't care how good your short game is. And Luke List, yeah, Luke List. So List, Phil, DeChambeau, Zach, JT, Rose. Let's say you just really like those guys and you're really confident in a lot of them. How do you add uniqueness to that lineup is you just go with 5 of them and then price down a little bit, because it's almost like an OCD tick with people. They just need to have $0 remaining. They see money remaining and see, how can I improve my team? But having a team that nobody else has is more valuable than the slight increase in equity a slightly more expensive player can give you. Like, exaggerated example. If Tony Finau is 30% owned and Xander Schauffele is 10% owned, then Schauffele doesn't need to have as many points as Finau to be as valuable as him this week, especially on a team that has 0 left over. If you put Schauffele on a 6-man team that ends up giving you $100 left over, you're very likely to be the only person to set that team. And that in and of itself is value, because it gives you immediately a better chance to win than if you're sharing a team or sharing 5 guys or sharing 4 guys. These are things you need to think about in tournaments. And I think it's stuff that nobody talks about, and it'll help. I don't know why I keep scrolling up my stupid spreadsheet. I need to fix it. But I think it'll help you going forward when you build your roster, because you don't need to look at the 50K that you have to start and think, I need to use every dollar. And you don't need to look at the popular guys and the the guys who are obviously going to score the most for their range and think, I have to put them on my team. You can put them on your team, and I do put them on my team a lot. I would just recommend finding ways to make sure that your 6-man roster is unique and as good as possible, while being as good as possible. If you can set a team, if you think of it like a Madden rating or a Tiger Woods golf rating, if you have a team that you think is 100 overall, but it's X% to be duplicated, with X being a high number, and then you have team B that's a 90 overall, but it's very unlikely to be duplicated, I would highly recommend taking team B. Go team B every time and don't think twice about it. Because GPPs are all about winning. I don't know how many times I can say that, but GPPs are about winning. And to win, you need to have the best team you can have that is also the most unique team you can have. And cash games, I'm not going to get into as much, but it's just the opposite. It's not the complete opposite, because uniqueness is still valuable, but volatility is something you want to avoid. So you want the safe picks. You want the guys who are gonna play well the most percent of the time. You're not going for the highest ceiling for your total score. You're trying to hit your 60% median the most you can. And that is cash games in a nutshell. All right, well, I think that'll just about do it. I hope I didn't get this video out too late, and that you can still, if you thought this was useful, you can still build your team in a way that I think is optimal. I appreciate and thank anyone who took the time to listen, and I'll be sure to have video out next week for the PGA Championship. Good luck to everyone this week, and thanks again.